Oh, it's going. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to Satsang, your Sunday, your weekly dose of discussions about truth, reality, the self, who you are, who we all are. And really, really happy to be here. Let me bring up this so I can make sure that I'm seeing everything as they come in. As people come in, please let me know your name, where you are, where are you looking from and watching from, and if you'd be so kind as to like and share, that would be wonderful. Before I jump into the questions, something that comes up all the time, and there's such a huge misunderstanding about it, and that is what non-duality is all about, right? When we talk about non-duality, we're simply talking about not two. We're not talking about a one without anything else here. We're talking about the one manifests itself as many. It seems very confusing to many people, because it's not something you can easily wrap your mind around. But the example I always love to use is music and the song. The song draws its entire nature, its entire existence from music, from just the principle, the potential of the universe to produce music. If that potential wasn't there, music couldn't happen. It simply would not exist. So every single song that you hear, whether it be a Beethoven symphony or or a polka or anything in between, has in it the complete expression of what music is. Not the complete in the sense of every possible permutation of what music can do, because of course that's not the case. But the infinite range of what music can express can't possibly ever be captured in a single song, right? So you've got this incredibly mysterious relationship between the pure potential for music, any kind of music, and the actual song itself, which embodies all of the qualities of music. It's like in the story of Indra's net from the Hindu tradition. It is a beautiful story, and the net it's referring to is a net, not a network like the internet, but a net, like a fishing net, right? And it is the infinite. It goes off in all directions. There's no end to it. It never stops. Now, at each intersection in the net, there is a diamond. A gloriously reflective, perfect diamond. And in each diamond, at every intersect, each diamond reflects the entire rest of the net. So in every individual diamond, you see reflected everything in the universe. And moreover, this one diamond is reflected in every other diamond in the universe. It's a beautiful image of what the real nature of oneness or not two-ness or non-duality actually means. There are many teachers that want to just say that in the non-dual part, there's not two. So there's nothing here. There's no one here. There's no one to do anything. There's no place to go. but that's only half the picture. And the reason you can say that you can't say that there's nothing happening, nothing to do, because things are happening, things to do all the time. But if you imagine that music itself was the author of every song, not just that the music, that the need of music to create forms and expressions of music was such that the same energy of essence of music created not just the notes in the song, but the voice, the people writing it, the instruments, the recording studios, all of that emerged from this one place. And so you can see that because the essence of music is expressed in every single piece of music, you can't separate the two. Take away the expression of the song and music, the potential would still exist, but nothing would be expressed. There'd be nothing there. It would be a non-entity. Take away the potential for this, and no song exists. You cannot have one without the other. And that's the real nature of the not-two-ness, the non-dual. So I can see the questions are already appearing. One person said there's not any sound, but but let me make sure. Nope, got plenty of sound here. If anybody else is having trouble hearing, please let me know. So I just wanted that little brief thing, because if I take the position that it's nothing but music and the forms are nothing, they don't exist. They certainly can't exist. A song can't exist without the music that is the that is the potential for it, right? Right. And of course, music would exist, but it'd be, what the heck would it be if there was no perceiving of it? There was no expression of it. So don't get stuck on any side. Don't get stuck in the absolute. Don't get stuck in the relative, because they're one. But this one is the infinite expression of the entire range, the infinite, inexhaustible potential for anything to have being. Paramjit, namaste, brothers and sisters from the UK. Hi, Parmi, how are you? Sean says, IG, if the seeker can do nothing to speed up enlightenment, does that make all practices futile? Staying as the witness, etc. When I feel present for a day, like like I've microdosed LSD, is this weird? No, not at all. Again, if you go into the absolute, you say you can do nothing to speed up, there's nothing you can do, but are you moved, right? You can't speed it up, but it'll speed you up, right? Truth will definitely, get the better of you if you let it. So no, it does not make practices futile. I mean, I recommend meditation. I recommend this kind of non-dual inquiry, but I also recommend other things like tapping and inner reconciliation and other techniques for simply helping us prepare the ground. I once heard it say that enlightenment is an accident, but there's lots you can do to make yourself more accident prone. Think of the practices as simply being the focus of your attention in the most likely place that the truth is going to break through and grab you. Steve Jardine put it this way, and I think it's really beautiful the way he said it. He said, I can show you where to knock, and I could show you how to knock. But there's no causal connection between you knocking and that door opening. However, if you're standing at the door and you're knocking, you are in the very best place to see it when it does. That's what a practice is. You know, you cannot, the truth doesn't need to practice to be the truth. But our habitual energy of thinking of ourselves and acting like the separate self can be retrained so it moves more, aligns more closely to what we need the truth, know the truth to be. So knock on the door, be willing to knock on the door. Jesus said, I come like a thief in the night. So I say unto you, I say unto all, watch, you know, pay attention. There's nothing wrong with focusing our attention on that which is the most useful, right? Focusing on the positive thoughts rather than the negative thoughts, the positive feelings rather than the negative feelings. Watching your tendency of thought, which would tend to distract you and bring you and bring you down, may even make you think like, oh, I'm never going to get this enlightenment stuff, because none of that's actually true. So you are always the witness, right? Are you not always witnessing? You're always experiencing. Is there ever a time when you're not? Yeah, content comes and goes, content changes a lot, but is there ever a time when you are not witnessing, when you are not experiencing, when you are not aware? There is no time where that's the case. So awareness isn't something you have to get to, it's what's always happening. And what happens if you start identifying more with the function of awareness than the functions of thought? The end result is that you would inevitably migrate, your attention would naturally kind of fall into line with awareness. Thoughts would fall away about it. And at some point, you know, the door of grace will shine and the door will open. And you don't know when that's going to happen, so keep watching. Does that help you, Sean? A revolutionist? I love that. Dale Wiggins, hello again from Boston. Hello, Dale. Robert Goldberg. Hi, GP from sunny Southern Nevada. It's always sunny in Southern Nevada, right? I stayed there for a while, actually in Henderson outside of Las Vegas, and it was 115 degrees. Yeah, it was sunny. Ava, namaste, and everybody. So good to be at Satsang again. Only one click necessary. Thank you. Hi, Ava from Poland. Sarah Sanz, hi, everybody. Happy to be with you. Be with you all. Love you, G. I love you too, Sarah. Sarah's amazing. Sarah is one of my certified facilitators of inner reconciliation. So there, she's also a brilliant teacher. And hello from France, and she's in France. Sean Dixon says, I'm in Scotland. Love the Satsang. Great. Oh, great. Scotland. I really want to get back over to the UK, to Scotland and Wales. I've not been to Scotland or Wales or Ireland for that matter. I've just been to England. Ursula, hello all. Ursula from Madeira Island. Happy to be here and now. Tommy Khan, hi GP from near London. David Eileen, hi GP, all warm greetings from Southeast England. Tatfutan, is there a soul in Vedanta philosophy? I know consciousness is Atman and Jiva is more like the ego. Is Jiva the soul? Yeah, the Jiva is simply regarded as the individual being. It can be seen as an independent soul, but if you look at it as the independent soul, you'll see it as a separate self, as an objective thing, and then the jiva is basically the false sense of self. But the same jiva, when it is perceived as the manifestation of the one, as I said, was talking earlier about the song manifesting the whole of music, the jiva, the individual form, the individual expression or person, seen as simply the manifestation of the underlying reality of the oneness, Now you have what they call the Jiva Mukti or Jiva Atma, right? So the Atman, yes, in various kind in Vedanta, no, they don't see it as a soul. Or you might say there's only one soul. There is the one being of all. That which is only one. Everything else is an appearance of what is, that one being that manifests itself in beings. It doesn't divide itself into beings, but its beingness gives presence and existence and shape and form to absolutely everything. And there's an infinite amount of everythings. But all of those things are a reflection or a manifestation of that one essence. In many different Hindu religions, there is a soul. You know, there's something that reincarnates or actually goes to some kind of reward. In Vedanta, that's not the case. It doesn't see it like that. It doesn't see reincarnation as a soul reincarnating. It simply sees the one being manifesting lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So what is, which means what you are, is the one. How that appears is what you would call, you know, the person, the human being, or in Sanskrit, the jiva. Does that make sense for you, Tatu? Also says hi from New York. Oh, we're in New York. Lived there twice in the last 25 years. There it goes. Linda Hanakova. Hi, GP. Greetings from Dublin, Ireland. Wonderful. Robert Hill. Hi, Mr. G. Hi, Mr. R. An unorthodox question. Corporations and the military-industrial complex have pretty much destroyed the working class. Change or collapse first? I don't know. I don't know what will precipitate the, let's say the, you know, believe me, as bad as the world is, and it's bad, it's dark right now, there's a war going on for control of people's minds, of controlling perception in order to create an imaginary world. And you're absolutely right. The control of that perception is an attempt to really take control of people's minds, brainwash them into thinking that everything is okay, while in the meantime, people are being reduced to slaves. That's going on. That's real, right? At least in the sense of the relative sense of the term. But you can be absolutely sure that for as much of that that's going on, as big, as overwhelming, and as powerful as that appears to be, there is simultaneously of equal power and importance and influence the liberation of consciousness to fulfill itself in pure knowing of truth. Those are both happening. Now, how one is true, the other's false. One rests on something that is solid and changeless. The other rests on lies and manipulation. I mean, only one, you know, that which is true, you can't dispose of. That which is false cannot sustain itself forever. Although the proponents of it believe they can. They believe that they are the arbiters and creators of reality. It is the most demonic. And if anybody's researched this kind of thing, the only unforgivable sin in the New Testament is the sin against the Holy Ghost. And what is that? The Holy Ghost is simply the spirit of truth that lives within you. Anything that tries to manipulate you does not let you discover the truth of being God for yourself directly from your heart, anything that it tries to attempt to block that, to obscure it, to control it, is the sin against the Holy Ghost. Fundamentalist churches do it. They don't even know they're doing it. They're just acting very ignorantly. Marketing does it. Governments do it. The military-industrial complex, as you mentioned, do it. Corporations do it. The media does it. Media spreading darkness at the speed of light. But believe me, as big and as overwhelming as it looks, the opposite energy of awakening, of truth, of consciousness, of freedom, of the open-hearted invitation into what is real and good is in fact going on as well. It's just not being, it's not being publicized. It's not being broadcasted. I think, and as a result, the influences that are most loud right now are the ones that seem so very negative, and they block out. They don't give any airtime to the other side of the coin that's happening. But that's part of. They think if they just can completely wipe it out and control all bits of information, that they'll be able to establish a lie as truth. You cannot establish a lie as truth. The very fact that this is going on, satsang is going on, and it's not just me. There's all sorts of stuff going on. We're all feeling the sense of awakening, but in the awakening, we're also going to feel the enormous gap between the promise of the awakening that we're all experiencing and what's happening in the world right now. But take heart. Is it going to completely collapse? I'm hoping not. It has happened before. There have been, there's the Velvet Revolution. There was in Czechoslovakia. There was one in Poland. It took over without a shot being fired. So it is quite possible that consciousness would simply gain the momentum, and that truth would become more appealing to more people than the lie, and that this will actually be a peaceful and maybe even painless transition. I can't guarantee that, though. In everybody's individual lives, there's been those times you just hold on to something so tight until you're completely devastated. You hit rock bottom before you let go of some stuff and begin to grow. The world may happen that way. I don't know, but it is going to happen. It is going to happen. We are going to survive this. That I can guarantee. So I hope that answers it for you, Robert. And I really appreciate the heart I felt in that question. This is these are trying times, and as far as I'm concerned, the only thing we can possibly do to deal with them is wake up. Sandra, hi from Sweden. I can't pronounce your last name, Sandra. So I'm just going to say Sandra. Hi from Sweden. So glad you're here. Sean Dixon, revolutionists. Are ethics and morals relevant in non-duality? Mooji has been in the doghouse recently in spiritual circles for apparent sexual deviance. Should I even care? Well, I think, I think spiritual teachers should disport themselves looking out for the spiritual teachers love, the lie wants to give anything it can to hang on to discredit truth. And if somebody plays along with that, well, they're kind of feeding into those hands. I don't really know the whole story about Mooji. The fact of the matter is, if somebody has a relationship, if a major league spiritual teacher has a relationship, um, what do I care, right? You know, I would care if the teacher uses their position to coerce the students into sexual activity, the way uh, Trimpa Rinpoche did, and some others as well, some others that are still out there actually. So if they're that, of course, is completely immoral, completely unethical, and has no place, right? That's just it. Just to to say that ethics and morals are relevant in non-duality would reduce non-duality to basically just a simplistic philosophy that had no real application. If spirituality doesn't affect not only our existential existence, but give us some kind of model to live our life, it's worthless. I mean, it's non-dual. Right? Interfacing the non-dual recognition in the everyday life is where the rubber meets the road. So, you know, I've looked at this one with Muji and some others, and what I find is that I must say, at first I was a bit turned off, and I didn't listen to him for a while. And then I went back and listened, and he's, you know, what can I say? He's precise. He's unrelenting. He's opened up avenues to me that were never open before, and I just kind of let go of the rest, because like I said, unless there's some real abuse of power, you know, if they want to have orgies, I don't care. I don't care. You know, as long as it's of everybody's free will, they're you know, they're doing it on their own, and and you know, I've discussed this with some with woman friends of mine about it. And you know, it's like, you know, everybody wants to blame the man, but and of course, if he's being a predator, he's being a predator. If he's being aggressive about it, but the women have some responsibility to be saying no to they, so there'd be nobody innocent in that. But like I said, right, if everything is uh, completely consensual, it's none of my business. I don't care, and it doesn't diminish the message at all. If there's coercions there, I'm more careful when I'm listening to what is being said in satsang and the like, um, because if there is coercion there, it can taint the message. But it's up to me. It's up to me to discern that, right? And I think, in the interests of spiritual growth for all of us, which is an individual engagement, it's not a group thing. You don't go into heaven on a tandem bike or in a bus. Um, I think it's a reminder that we should not put any stock in the guru, other than uh, other than allowing them to point us back to the inner guru. Do not give any guru any extra special powers. I don't care if they are the sage. The real gurus never claim to have that kind of stuff. And they will not try to take advantage of anyone, try to keep someone down. And if you disagree with them, say, oh, it's just your mind. They will engage you. Okay. So um, caveat emptor, you know, buyer beware. Take take uh, listen discerning, and if there's something that doesn't sound right, don't accept it. If it does sound right, accept it. If you're drawn to that, accept it. But never make the human teacher divine. The divinity is only that which shines through and manifests as the form. If you think of it as a teacher who is a sage or has great wisdom or has these qualities, and you associate the form as a person, as a separate entity that possesses these sage-like qualities, you've missed the boat. The 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 appearance of a sage or a guru is to correctly discern it. You see them; they are transparent to the actual light, the actual reality that is simply being shining through them. They are no more the message or even the messenger than the wires that are running the electricity that's carrying my voice to you. There's no more authority in this particular body mind than there is in an ant, right? And this body mind is not the source uh, uh, or the content of the message. It is simply the instrument through which it's passing. And the more transparent you see that it is, the closer you are to the truth. This is the case if you're looking at a Bible story and you take it literally, like it's supposed to be history, like the fundamentalists do. You have completely distorted the message. They are every parable, every myth is actually transparent to an unknowable, completely infinitely beyond any conceptual framework reality that is simply shining through it. So I hope that helps answer your question, Sean. It should be a concern, and we all should have to be concerned about it. Sandra, Sean then says, Chandra, I saw Midsummer the movie. Swedish chicks rock. Chris, hello, GP. Can you explain what exactly memory is? I've heard memory is nothing but a thought, and all there is to a thought is an image and a story about the image. Yes, that's all there is to it. What's a memory but an image with a story attached to it? Now, memories are very interesting things. You know, there was kind of this new age idea that we remember absolutely everything, but we only sort things out. What I've seen in the studies of memory and that sort of thing is that we don't remember anything. Traumatic events, very significant events that actually kind of leave an impression on the nervous system. It can be an image that happens. It can be a feeling. It can be word. It can be experiences. It can be a vibe or an energy. But the narrative when we construct a memory is done in real time. So there's these fragments that get put together, and in the moment, the story about them is created. Now that story might be remembered, but you probably if you look back on your memories, how you saw an event that took place a long time ago, how you looked at it 5 years ago, how you look at it, how you see it now. Well, you were convinced you saw it for what it was, right? And now you look back, oh, that's not what it was. It was this. Well, what makes that any more true? The reality is nothing, because it's being constructed in the moment, which is why when I work with people, energy healing and that sort of stuff, I stick with the feelings. I go to the feelings and even an image or an impulse, but set aside the story so it's a direct feeling of what's happening within the nervous system. That gets you far, far, far closer to the truth of it, and therefore the capacity to release it. A better story about something that happened to you in the past doesn't really help. It's nothing but a reframe. The other thing about a memory is, yes, it's a thought in this particular moment. Nobody can step out of this present moment with their version of what that memory is, go back in time, look at the circumstance, and compare it to your idea about it. And of course, even if you were able to do that, you'd be looking at it from the perspective you have now. And so you would be interpreting it again from that point of view. which is why I do not rely on memory. I don't even past life regressions and things like that to try to get to the heart of some traumatic material somebody needs to process. Instead, I just go right to the feeling, the effect, resistance, the various kinds of stuff that we're aware of right in this moment that we can pinpoint and say, yes, this is happening. And I don't really know why it's happening, right? And then that energy can reveal as much about it, about itself as it needs to in order to be freed from the stuck pattern that it's in. We experience in this moment. We don't need a memory. We are experiencing the past in this moment as various kinds of energetic reactions and responses and feelings and the like. So if we just stay with that and we create in this moment a safe environment for those feelings to be there, what we've done is we've really created the environment for healing. Because the thing that got some kind of traumatic experience lodged in the nervous system as some kind of recurring difficulty or block or obstacle or something is because the environment in which it occurred at the time was not safe. And so it felt as a threat. And of course, the body always reacts to threats and buffers itself against threats. And so that's going to stay, right? But that's not a memory. That's actually here right now. So if you take that very same energy and now you do create the environment of safety, it will respond to that environment of safety because it's a totally adaptive system. So does that answer your question, Chris? My buddy up there in Liverpool. So it does sound right to me. Ducks. Hey, GP. Hey, Ducks. Is there a point where effort to observe becomes effortless observation? Is it about repetition and improves with time? Yes. Yes, it is. What happens is that little by little you begin to realize that the observation is always happening, that you don't have to do anything. Like right now, do you have to do anything to hear my voice? The words are just getting in, aren't they? You're not going on here grabbing my words and sticking them into your head. It's all happening very passively. Well, that's effortless observation, isn't it? What we're talking about with the effort is simply a more disciplined approach to where our attention is going. And this is important because where our intention goes literally creates the experience we have. Right? Now, the awareness of the attention and where it's going is obviously something prior to and more subtle and more fundamental than the attention itself. So the effort is just noticing how the attention, because of habit, constantly wants to gravitate back to identification with a separate self. Now, all of that is happening in front of effortless observation, isn't it? Right? There's no effort on your part to notice that attention is there. And at that point, the noticing the attention is there, something automatically wants to draw the attention back closer to truth, to love, to compassion, to just even the positive side of things. So what happens is you become increasingly aware that the witnessing, the awareness is always happening, and it always is effortless. So it's not like you finally discipline yourself and get to the point where it's effortless. What happens is you see more and more clearly that it's always effortless. It's always been effortless. You're identifying more and more with the awareness. And so the sense of there being an effort begins to diminish until it completely disappears. Right. Now, it hasn't completely disappeared for me. I find myself getting distracted about stuff, but I'm also aware that the only reason I can say I'm distracted is because I'm looking from a place that isn't distracted. I notice attention wanders. That's what it does. That's part of, think of attention as the flashlight in this huge room, right? And so attention is kind of like from here to here, but awareness is everything. And it's aware even of attention. So come to discern that even the focus of attention is being perceived by something more subtle, and you realize that more subtle awareness that's aware even of the attention is effortless. And you just keep going back to that place, right? Oh, it's effortless. I'm aware of everything. I don't have to try to be aware. I don't have to, I wake up in the morning and rev up the aware machine, right? or, install the awareness program, on my app, right? So does that answer it for you, ducks? Let me check something here. Okay. Spiral dynamics. Hi, GP. What is vibration? Vibration frequency and how to raise it. Vibration is a nice word. I like the word because if you look throughout, all forms that we experience are different frequencies of vibration. I mean, red light is light that's vibrating at this frequency as opposed to violet light, which is vibrating at this frequency. A below middle C is got a certain frequency range at it, which is 220 hertz. If you go go up the scale, the frequencies increase. The frequent changes in the frequency of light appear to our senses as the colors. The frequency of sound is perceived by our senses as pitch, but the actual nature of it is vibration. Sound is simply an energy passing through a medium. Light is a strange one because it's self-propagating. It's going through just space. It's not like it's passing through a medium. It self-propagates itself. It's a very good way of seeing that absolutely everything in the universe is nothing but an energy flow at a particular vibration. Now, what's paradoxical about the whole thing, which makes this thing so mysterious, is that energy is just pure potential. It's not a thing. It's not like there's a thing energy that vibrates. If you look close, you cannot find an object that is vibrating. If I'm making music, I pluck a string or, I hit a drum or something like that. This is vibrating. You can see it. It's much more, on this level, it's much more visceral. We can touch it. But when you're looking at the subtle energies of the universe, it's like it's vibrating, but there's nothing vibrating. It's like a vibration existing purely on its own. And this actually points towards the truth of it. And I like the word vibration because you can see that everything in the universe, whether it be a galaxy or a black hole or a star or a blade of grass or a feeling or a thought, are all just different variations of this mysterious energetic vibration. And even that is itself a secondary manifestation of the pure awareness, which is not a vibration. All form is vibration, isn't it? I mean, my hands, the microphone, this cloth right here, they're all a particular rate of vibration and particular combinations that make form possible. So form is not a thing, it's an energy flow. Right? Right? Can you grasp that? Everything we look at it as form, as solid, isn't actually solid at all. It's a flow. That flow is just kind of perpetuating itself in what Buckminster Fuller called pattern integrity, so that over in a short period, nothing looks like it's changed, right? If I was to look at myself right now, like a week ago, I wouldn't see much in the way of change, unless I'd shaved or something. But 2 years from now, it'll still be me, kind of, but it'll be a very different form. It'll be a form that's not completely divorced from what it looked like 2 years ago. But the point I'm trying to make is that every form is actually a flow. This is why things like energy healing are possible, because it works with the flow rather than a solid object. So now the other part of your question, how do you raise it, right? Well, since this is satsang and not a class on manifestation, I'm going to look first at the motivation behind raising it. Why is it that you want your vibration to be raised? And what is it that tells you that it needs to be, right? When you ask, how do I raise my vibration? There's a sense of there being something off, something wrong. There's a problem that you want to fix or adjust. You want to try to take care of in some way. That focus on trying to raise your vibration, to bring it to a better place so better things happen, is actually a focus on the low vibration and a feeling of separation between that and the high vibration. The highest vibration there is you accepting yourself as you are in this moment. Boom, you are through the roof. That is unconditional self-love, and that is the highest vibration that there is. Now, if you're trying to raise your vibration in order to get something from the universe, in order to improve your life, you are making the thing that's coming to you more important than you. Raise your vibration because it feels good. It feels right. It feels honoring. It feels truthful. It feels like this is the place to be, and let the rest take care of itself. Does that help, Spiral Dynamics? If you want more specifics, please ask. I don't mind, but I really want to raise the vibration of our conversation. It's at the point where you have the shortest distance between you and what it is you're trying to achieve. And that shortest distance always comes by collapsing the imaginary distance between you and where you want to go. You have a picture of yourself at a low vibration, and you're trying to raise it to a high vibration. That picture makes it hard to raise the vibration because it's got you stuck here. It's just a picture in your mind. You are, in fact, the manifestation of the infinite self. So how could you be anything less than the highest vibration at any given moment? That's how you raise it. You dispense with all the ideas that tell you that you have to raise it, that there's something wrong with you, that you are incomplete, that you are inadequate, that you are less than. None of that is true. What's true is that you are the self, and the human expression, what you call your human life, is the manifestation of that self, and therefore it is always in high vibration. Really take that in, and it will manifest. It'll appear to us that vibration has risen, but you'll know what the truth is. It never really rose. It has just, it is the picture has been brought in harmony with the reality. Does that answer it for you, my friend? Daryl says, hello all from Washington, D.C., Maryland area. Hello, Daryl. Sean, boy, I got a lot of questions today, my friend. Good to see it. Oh boy, where'd it go? Oh, good Lord, where'd it go? I've been knocking on the door every which way. I feel like something intimate is calling me to just open and blossom. I'm primed and ready. I guess it's in consciousness hands. Yeah, what else you gonna do? Where else you gonna go? Where else you gonna go? That's the only door worth knocking on. You know, learn to enjoy the process of knocking, which simply means learn to enjoy your humanness. Don't make, the real meaning of awakening and enlightenment is not an escape from the humanness. It is a complete merging with it, where you see the human and the divine are not two. So really love the knocking. Love every single moment of this appearing. You're experiencing your own personal Buddha story. So it is in consciousness's hands. You are that consciousness. So conscious, not this thing over here that's leading you. But in a sense, it is like that. It is simply grace is appearing in you. But grace is the truth of you. It's not two. It is the truth of your being appearing as the truth of your being. So you keep knocking, buddy. Dave Maloney. Hi, G. Interested in your thoughts on Byron Katie's approach to inquiry, moving away from right versus wrong to true versus false. I find uncovering the painful beliefs the most challenging aspects. Well, she's absolutely correct in her approach to that, because it isn't right versus wrong. It's true. It is always true versus false. I'm not that familiar with the work, Byron Katie's the work, so I'm not really fit to comment on it. When I do work with people on stuff, I mean, there's nothing either right or wrong. I don't even think you can't even say there's something really true or false. And when I say that, what I mean is, if there's some kind of painful belief, right, or some kind of traumatic material from the past, there's a part of you that believes it to be true. And just saying it's not really true, I've actually found to be inadequate for most people. Well, it's not true, right? Because it isn't actually true. But you have to look at it on an energetic level, right? If I'm a little kid and I have some really traumatic event take place with me that leaves an impression on my nervous system, in the moment I'm experiencing it, it is true, right? Now, all the story and everything that gets created after the fact isn't, right? It's all sorts of stuff that gets layered on, especially the younger you are, the farther removed from the actual event itself the story is. And the story is just nothing but trying to buffer you from re-experiencing the traumatic material. So, fortunately these days, the process is much easier. So EFT and inner reconciliation, meditation, and the like, this difficult material can come up in an environment that doesn't cause it basically a re-traumatization. I used to study this stuff back in the 80s when it was still, ab reactions and that sort of thing. And, the release of a trauma was as traumatic as the trauma itself. And I said, well, this doesn't work. There's got to be a better way to do this. I'm even more messed up from the trauma I just experienced, from reliving the trauma. But there's an environment in which you can create and that you can see that this is what's really happening. So you feel the truth and or the falsity of it. So, it's not, you can't say it's not true, it never happened, right? A real experience takes place, right? You can't deny it. We all get traumatized, right? It happened. It's inevitable. It's even kind of God's plan. It's how this whole thing, the whole thing works and how we grow. That event really did happen. Leaves an impression. And now the nervous system, attempting to buffer itself and protect itself from it happening again, or simply from experiencing that level of pain again, isolates that particular energy, puts it off in the body somewhere, and creates layers of defense to keep it from being touched. Now, those layers of defense are usually not true. There are various kinds of stories and resistances and behaviors and the like. They're not true. The event was, the impression the event was. And if you can get through all of the stuff that actually isn't, that is just story, to the actual feeling itself, with that open-hearted compassion that provides a safe environment, that traumatic energy will immediately sense that the environment is now safe and begin to release the traumas. And that's for me how it works. A lot of people will say, well, it didn't really happen. They try to deny that the events happened. Of course they happened. If they didn't happen, you wouldn't have the problem. You wouldn't have a trauma. You wouldn't have a resistance. You wouldn't have some kind of, phobic or anxiety. It wouldn't have occurred if something really didn't happen, right? So we're just kind of discerning what actually is true. And our story and interpretations of things is never true, right? So, the process where you can question, is this, and you can, and that kind of inquiry would say, well, this person's really a jerk. Well, do you really know that? If you really examine those really closely, you see, well, it's not, okay. Okay, there's my impression of that. Are they a jerk all the time? No. So I can't just say they're a jerk, right? Okay, I have an impression of them like that, and I might not be really accurate about that. Plenty of impressions and ideas and images you have of yourself, which aren't really true. They're not really what you're like. They're a very small view of you. So I hope that answers your question. I hope that's helpful, both on the level of true and false, right and wrong, and also more importantly on the level of being able to create an environment in which the traumatic material can simply release itself. And I use different ways of doing that, most notably inner reconciliation, which includes tapping, emotional freedom technique, and meditation, as well as the non-dual inquiry. So hope that answers it for you, David. Nazrin, hi G. I easily get bored with some stuff I need to do. You mentioned boredom as the training of the mind to seek something other than what is happening now. How do I allow it? Well, by allowing the very uncomfortable feeling of being bored, right? And it is a feeling, it's a sensation, right? You can feel it in the body. There's a restlessness, and I know it. I feel it too. I know everybody I know who's basically a creative for a living gets easily bored. There's some people that I mean, I know people that are like really methodical. They're great executives, just boom, 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 right down the line, and are executors. I'm totally incompetent at execution. I can write anything. I'll give you all the content you want, but boy, don't ask me to try to organize it for you. I can't do it. It's just not where my particular gifts lie. So boredom inevitably arises as our attention starts to wander. Now, is it wandering because there's just kind of a creative impulse, or is it wandering as a means of avoiding what you happen to be feeling in this moment? Boredom is a nice word we like to put on an uncomfortable feeling, because by definition, the word boredom means, I have to do something, right? I don't have it. But in fact, it's the state where nothing really feels all that appealing to do. Sit with that. Just stay with that. Just be in the feeling, oh, this is what it feels like to be bored. It's part of the full, right? Consciousness is not interested in only having a little chunk of experience. Consciousness is experiencing. Awareness is experiencing because it wants to experience. And it's not limited to what it's experiencing. It's just the pleasant and the nice. It's the full range. You cannot experience joy without experiencing sadness. You cannot experience gain without experiencing lack. They'll have no meaning. Everything in this universe, the dualistic, is a play of the polarities. I don't even really like the word duality, because it's not a duality, it's a unity. But the unity is playing as this dance of opposites. So anytime there's an uncomfortable feeling and you want to move away from it, don't. Come back to it, at least for a time, right? Sit with it for a little bit. Give it some space. Say it's okay to be here. That's how you allow it. You give it permission to be there, and you recognize that, yes, it's uncomfortable. But then you can actually even push it a little bit further beyond the word discomfort. What does that mean? Well, okay, it's a feeling, it's a sensation. If I take away comfortable or uncomfortable, it becomes just a sensation, something that's being felt. And I've habitually not liked that feeling, so I've moved away from it. But if I don't do that and I just stay with it and I drop my entire story about it, it's a problem that's moving me to something, it's boredom, it's whatever, just drop all the words and be 100% present with what the feeling is going on in the body, the sensation. And I think you'll find that the sense of boredom just kind of dissolves into a fascination with what you're feeling. And of course, the more you allow, the more you are stepping into the role of the pure awakened being, because awareness is pure allowing. It's its nature. It rejects nothing. It prefers nothing. Everything it just is. It's just letting everything in. So if it just is, well, then is it actually even boredom? Is it a problem? Is it anything? It's just a particular pattern of energy, a vibration, if you will, that is being sensed. And that particular vibration is just triggering conditioned patterns of thoughts that interpret it, give it a character, say, this is what is, and this is how I have to deal with it. Just put all of that aside and just be with it and see what happens. Right? So this becomes, enlightenment is not a goal. It is a way of being. It is a shift of perception so that everything is experienced from the place of pure awareness, which it actually is, right? Because you are aware, right? But there's all sorts of thoughts about that there's something else that's there. I'm this thought that says, I am not awareness. I'm trying to get to awareness. But that entire thing is appearing in awareness. You're seeing it, right? Please like and share. Give me some more likes, folks. I get easily bored with some stuff that I need to do. It's not a problem. Don't make it into one. It's not a problem, right? Just go into the feeling. See what happens. Let this be a discovery for folks. It's not an end goal, but a discovery, a direct insight into your true nature. It just grow. It never stops, by the way. You don't get to some place, oh, I'm enlightened now. It never stops. It's an infinitely unfolding lotus. It's a flower that continues to bloom, just continues to open. Inconceivable to the mind, of course, but that is the nature of our infinite reality. Tat Fu is in Staten Island. Wonderful. Kiran, Namaste, GP. Is there a difference between God and the soul? Well, if you put a capital S on soul, then the answer is no. You think of God as the soul, the essence, the heart, the mind, the the that which actually is. When people say there's a soul in the body. Okay, well then the body is temporary and the soul is permanent. But what they're doing, yeah, there is soul. It's not in the body. It's reflected in the body. It's moving the body. But that soul is not personal. There's not soul, or God didn't divide herself into souls. Being didn't divide itself into beings. Self didn't divide itself into selves. But soul reflects its soulness in individual forms that manifest the soulness. So the sense that you feel like a self, an individualized self, is legitimate because you are this form that you're appearing as is an individualized manifestation of the self. Therefore, it reflects selfness. It reflects beingness. It reflects soulness, to put it that way. So the word we use, God, is always the I am, what is, the essence, the absolute. You know, even science, keeps digging down smaller and smaller because they see at every level, whether it be at the level of a body or of a universe, or if you get a molecule or an atom or a subatomic particle, everything is actually an appearance of something more fundamental. So the atom is actually an appearance of a particular vibration of the character of the subatomic particles that make it up. Well, okay, so I want to know the real nature of this appearance. I need to know the nature of those particles. They keep going. They've yet to find what is, that which is, that is not an appearance of something else. That's the search. We are in search of what is, and there must be something, right? Right? It can't be nothing but appearances of appearances of appearances. There, at some point, there is something that absolutely is. Well, that something is the pure awareness, the consciousness that is viewing everything, and that something that is what we have called God. And God is simply a word to try to point towards that which is beyond all language, beyond all opposites, beyond all description. It is completely and totally transcendent. Does that help you out there, Kiran? Is it Kiran or Kiran? I think it's Karen. David and Nalini, hey guys. As the substance of reality, consciousness is both the source and end of all illusions. So it's not the me who sees the snake in a rope. It's consciousness that dispels the illusion by recognizing itself as the rope. Is this how you would see it? Many thanks. I like the way you worded that. Consciousness is the very substance of everything. So you can say everything is consciousness. Every form, whether it be something that appears to be very solid like that, or something much more ephemeral, every form is made of consciousness, appearing in consciousness. That's the unity of it, the singularity of it. So it's not the me who sees the snake is a rope. Absolutely true. The me, as an image in the mind, does not see anything. The only thing that can see, that is the only thing that can cognize, is consciousness. Obviously, right? The thought doesn't see you. You see the thought, right? Now, there's a thought that you're looking at that tries to say that that which is cognizing is a person, is a form, is an image. And of course, that's the snake, right? So it's not you, it's not that sees the snake. That is the snake that's being seen. Only consciousness is conscious. Duh, right? Only awareness is aware. You don't have something else that isn't awareness that's awareness. You don't have two awarenesses, one over here and one over here, aware of that. Awareness is aware of itself. Consciousness is what is conscious. And what's appearing to the pure awareness, which you could think of as consciousness identified with its source, what's appearing to it is this world, this universe. And in part of this universe is the idea within that universe of a separate self that's misperceiving a snake in the rope. The separate self is the snake. By recognizing itself as the rope, consciousness recognizing that it is the rope and the snake and the ground that the rope is sitting on and the eyes that are seeing it, right? That's how I would see it. Does that help, my friends? Many quotes. David Smith, many quotes from the Gospel of Thomas in this satsang. Love it. One of my favorite texts. Any opinions as to why this text was removed from the Bible? From what I understand, it was not removed. It was never known. If it had gotten known, it would have been butchered. Probably wouldn't have made it because it's more aphorisms, individual statements. It's like 108 quotes from Christ. That's all there was to it. So there's no narrative, there's no story, there's none of the context that Christianity built. The Roman Catholic Church built its false platform, which has now been picked up in modern Christianity. So it wasn't actually removed. It wasn't known. It appears as though it was hidden, right? Because if it had been known, it's possible it was known and it was excluded. It was just pushed off to the side, and there were copies of it that had been stored away. But it appears as though the people kind of kept it quiet, and at least even if it was known and rejected, there were people who took care of it and sealed it in these jars so it would last as long as they possibly could, and hid it away so it couldn't be destroyed. So there was obviously some awareness that there was some controversy going on, which there was. I mean, none of the original writings, the earliest they've dated any of the writings in any of the Gospels is like around maybe 90 years after Christ's death, right? So there were copies of copies of copies, right? Before they're actually even written down. When they're first written down, if those are the earliest ones, maybe there were some written earlier, those are the earliest ones they had. And those were already through the verbal transmission. It was just story after story. And you know how it is, somebody tells you a story, the next time you tell it, it's different. It's embellished. It's now, our storyteller gets very active on it. But the good news about it is that because it was maintained so well, it's the most accurate of all the ones we have, which, considering Thomas is was held in disrepute because he doubted, it's actually the closest to the original that we actually have. It hasn't gone through copies of copies of copies of copies. So there's a lot of value to it, and it does have it has more of the flavor that I know of, and I identify with as Christ. No, I'm not identifying as Christ. I mean, the character of what is spoken to me does sound more like the Christ that I know. As does if you've ever heard there's a huge book called What Jesus Said, which is an analysis of everything attributed to him speaking, really reviewed by 70 scholars, going historians and like, going through it in great detail to try to discern what he actually said and what was obviously added later and enhanced, and various political or religious views get added onto it. And it's about 13% is what's been discerned that they're sure that he really said. I think it was like another 20% that they said it's likely, but not certain. So we're already talking about 36% at best, 13% really. When I look at those 13% that they say he said, without the extra stuff added to it, just the pure words, and then I compare it to the Gospel of Thomas, I find, boy, they really, the flavor, the spirit, the energy, the wisdom is really in lockstep. So Joseph Campbell likes to quote the Gospel of Thomas a lot too. You can look it up. It's not hard to read. It's like 108 stanzas. Some of them will blow your mind. Others will take you by surprise. So it's good reading for anybody. It's easy. Just go Gospel of Thomas. You can find it on the internet. Robert Goldberg. How can we take in the changes we hear about in the newscasts and media as far as not reacting to all the items we hear constantly? Good question. Ooh. Well, first off, let's be discerning. American media, as I've rightly said before, I heard somebody say this, spreads darkness at the speed of light. American media is almost completely propaganda. The illusion of two sides discussing things, and it's completely an illusion. They make it like theater, so there's a protagonist and an antagonist, and MSNBC and Fox News, and then CNN, which is supposed to be, really, and it's all bullshit, right? When you really look closely, it's all theater, because there's always a theme going on, and that is war. War is always justified. I don't care who the news agency is. That's not news, right? If they're just saying how justified it is without actually looking at all the facts and what's going on and what caused what, the way journalism used to be done, asking hard questions of politicians rather than setting them up, for their platform, you can pretty much completely dismiss the news of the US media. I thought a beautiful example of it was in the presidential debates, where they were talking about Bernie Sanders' proposal for Medicaid for all. Well, the question wasn't to ask about Medicaid for all. The question, now this is CNN, which is supposed to be the most fair of all of them, right? It's supposed to be a real news organization. He sets up the question and says, well, what do you think, how are American people going to react to 23 people losing their insurance? Which is, of course, a complete lie, right? Everybody's would get it under the proposal, but that's how they set it up. It's extremely manipulative. And Bernie Sanders even says there's going to be a commercial during this debate that is going to mirror exactly what he said. And lo and behold, there was, because it was bought and paid for. The insurance company, the medical. So you can't trust anything that's on the news. So you have to go for really obscure sources from out of the country. And so you're just going to have to, it's darkness, it's propaganda. It is attempting to mold your perception. So you have to be really, really, really discerning. Wherever you're going to get, if you go on Facebook at all or any of these platforms, you're inundated with all sorts of stuff. they've learned how to manipulate that too to make it look like some grassroots idea, some grassroots movement, when in fact it's bought and paid for by some lobbying group, right? So knowing that everything they're telling me is a lie, and that the real agenda they can't actually admit to me, because if they came right and said we need to have perpetual war because it makes these companies a lot of money, nobody would go along with it. So they have to create these really fantastic scenarios about all these different things, literally create terrorist groups that we can then go and fight. So just become really, really discerning. Don't believe any of it, and become willing to trust more and more in your intuition. And ultimately, my advice is wake up. Wake up to who you really are. Consciousness is truth. It can't be fooled. It can discern instantaneously. So I hope that helps you, Robert. And I really appreciate your questions. Ritan Wapo, hello, GP. What would you say to people who are dealing with despair and addictions? Well, first I would start with self-forgiveness for having addictions, because we all do. Addictions really are the human condition, whether it be something as serious as heroin or as seemingly innocuous as shopping. I recommend the works and programs from Gabor Mate, Gabor Mate, who is a marvelous medical doctor who's spent his career really helping people with addictions. Very interesting fellow, very much on the enlightened path. Speaks about it openly. So there are resources for that, and I advise you to take advantage of it. Don't hide this to yourself. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We all do it. We all have these little patterns. You could call me, me going out getting an almond milk latte at Starbucks or one of the coffee shops around here. Washington, there's plenty every day. Do I need to do that? No. Is that an addiction? Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's a little enjoyment you don't want to let go of. So yours may be more severe, but believe me, the diminishment of yourself that you are doing because you have these addictions is way worse than the addictions themselves. So what I invite you to do is to accept your humanity. Accept that being a human being is not an easy business, that being a human being in the world today, with all of its instability and all of its brutality and evil and all the other stuff that goes along with it, is not easy. So cut yourself some slack, and then just, when you feel that sense of despair, I give up. Don't surrender to the despair and go, oh, woe is me, but actually kind of put the idea of despair, don't try to discern where it's coming from, and just go directly to the feeling that you're having, which is the low energy, that sort of stuff. To go to the feeling without the story opens the door for a level of self-acceptance. And then you can begin to heal the addictions, because the cause of addictions, according to Gabor Mate, and I couldn't agree more, is disconnect. Trauma in our childhood creates a disconnect between us and our actual self. And in that void is where the the idea of a separate self emerges and all the things that go along with it. And because that void is there and it's so painful, it is so uncomfortable, we try to fill it. So an addiction is not a problem, it is a solution, right? It's just a solution that is temporary and not going to take you all the way. Our addictions are scratching your arm when your nose itches. The itch is real, you're just scratching in the wrong place. And so can you see the way I'm saying it? It's not a problem. It's an inadequate solution, right? And you found it to be inadequate because addictions tend to make, in the beginning, they're a relief, and then it gets worse, mostly because of what it does to your sense of self-esteem. So don't criticize yourself, right? Anybody who criticizes it is just not bothered looking at their own life close enough. You'll find a million addictions. Everybody's got these little habits. Anytime we do anything consistently to avoid what we're feeling, it's an addiction, right? So it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I drink more tea during the day than I need. Why? It's just kind of a little habit I have. It's kind of a little pleasure I give myself as I'm working on things and doing stuff. You can even notice, looking here, I've taken probably about 5 sips out of it, and it's empty, and I'm not going to drink it anymore, right? I didn't even finish it. It's kind of, there's all sorts of things that go into it. So rather than just I want to get out of this, again, like everything else, become curious about the human condition, which is you. Become so curious about yourself and how this all works and why this happened. It becomes the most marvelous discovery. It becomes this most marvelous inquiry. Now, if it's a real serious addiction, like you got severe, alcoholism, right? You're like, you're wasted every night, or or a highly addictive drug like heroin or cocaine or something like that. Get help. Just get some help. It's available, right? To get started. EFT is very effective on these. I've got EFT videos up there. Maybe I should do one on addiction. But I've got these addictions I want to get rid of them. I can't get rid of them. Despair. That's where the despair comes from. So just let go of all of that. It's not that I want you to, carry on with your addictions, destructive stuff, but it doesn't do any good to beat yourself up or go into despair. Just say, let go and just go into that feeling, right? The feeling of powerlessness, the feeling of your life being out of control, the feeling, but go into the feelings of them and welcome them. Welcome those feelings, because those feelings give rise to the addictions, not the other way around, right? And as you really begin to explore them more and go more deeply into it, you'll eventually get down to the real pain that's causing it. And Gabor Mate was talking about that. I'm paraphrasing because I can't quote him exactly. Said people think that the addiction is the problem, and it's not the problem. I'm doing this repeated behavior because of this pain that I'm feeling, and it dulls the pain. So he says, well, forget the addiction and let's find out, why is the pain? Why the inability to just simply have joyous moments and be happy? That's the question, right? That gets to the root of it, right? The ground out of which these things grow. So, pretend, I hope that's helpful to you. Sophie, hello, GP. Grateful to be listening while driving from Devon to Hereford. Hereford? Love, Sophie. Hereford, I think it's pronounced, right? Sean Dixon, revolutionist. Yes, I agree. Mooji is leading the revolution to change this world. He's open and wise And he's a man like me. I think he's been around too long to pee in the wind now. Heretics want to pull him down. Yes, he's a man like us. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so, but yes, he's still one of my favorites, right? I regard him as my teacher. I mean, I talk about a lot of different stuff, and I work with different stuff because it's just the way where my place is to help people up to the point where somebody like Muji, they go, oh wow, it makes it, because a lot of people it just goes right over their heads. Although more and more it isn't, because you can see by the sheer number of people watching his videos and the like. So I do think he is he is without a doubt the most visible sage in all of human history when you think about the number of people who are aware of him. Whereas traditionally, before mass media and YouTube and all of that sort of stuff, I mean, reputation would spread, but not to the tens and hundreds and thousands and millions. So thanks for that, Sean. Anne is refreshed and on. Good. Glad to have you, Anne. Jaya Devin. Pillay. Hi, G. Have you read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? What do you think of having a mission statement to guide your life? I have no problem with it. I think those habits are very, very good. They're not necessarily an assist on the spiritual journey. But anything, any skills we gain that help us be more functional in our life, I'm all for. A mission statement for your life, I think that's very powerful to really focus on it. What I would say is that your mission is going to change over time. And your purpose is going to change over time, and all of those things. So don't turn them into being something dogged. And if you can't come up with one that really kind of fits everything, well, don't worry about that either. Is there a mission? I have a mission guiding my life. I'm here to alleviate suffering and spread light. That's it. That is my mission, is my place in the world. And person, to be happy and be of service. It's really very, 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 very simple. And to that end, that's a statement, though. That's not a mission I'm striving for. That's just a recognition of my being. And as a result, because that it is, I very naturally gravitate towards things that help alleviate suffering. I find, I hear new things about different, some process or technique or something like that helps alleviate suffering. I'm all on it. I was just learning some new stuff about EFT that I hadn't seen before. So this is really good. I'm going to include, and I'm going to include it. So my mission in life, to spread lightness, spread the light, and to be the completely open-hearted, loving being that is the nature of being, to manifest that in form. That's why I'm here. So I hope that helps. Just do everything lighthearted. A lot of times these mission statements and the 7 habits of highly effective people, they can become like a slave driver, and they can tend to make you feel inadequate. So like you fall down and you don't rise to the occasion, or they can oftentimes, just because of the nature of the habitual nature of the way mind works, it can end up being just something else to beat ourselves up about, right? So take it lightheartedly, right? You're thinking of setting a mission to your life to guide it. Where are you guiding it to? That vision of where you're guiding it to will naturally just kind of flow out, and you could state what the mission of your life is. You can state a purpose, all sorts of things. But the essence of the purpose of your being is to simply express who you are, right? Both as the essence of all being, the formless, infinite substance of all things, and the individualized manifestation of that, which you know of more intimately as your human life. That's the ultimate mission, is to simply give the most true and expansive manifestation of your nature, however that works. Now that's nice and broad, isn't it? Right? Lots of opportunity for you to focus on a specific mission for a specific time, because missions are temporary, right? Once a mission is accomplished, you're done. You're on to the next mission. But all of those missions will have a common thread running through it, and that common thread is your true nature. Is that helpful? Jaya Devon. Did I say that correctly? Chris Skills. Where did the mind's content come from? If it's society, where did society get it from? Was it from the strange world of the mind? Boy, buddy, you have stepped into the great mystery. I mean, don't try to make this something like you go out and study things just look at yourself. Let's go right. I mean, we don't have to go somewhere out there where does the mind content come from? The mind and content are one and the same. The mind is simply a word for thoughts, for a collection pattern of thoughts. That's all it is. Not that there's a mind and then content is coming, right? The mind is just a word, right? Look at your actual experience and notice your thoughts. Just quietly watch your thoughts in meditation. You don't know where they're coming from. They're coming from nowhere, right? They're coming from the vast emptiness that is the intelligence of the universe. Period. All of it. So you can tell from your own direct experience, right? Because what is society but a collection of thoughts that a bunch of people have agreed on are true, and therefore they hang around for a while. Just like you say, so this is a true thought, which is itself is just another thought that arose after the first thought that you're now saying is true, right? And so it hangs around because it's been graced with the the designation of true, right? Where did the thought come from? Where did that come from? Look for yourself. You'll find out it didn't come from anywhere. I mean, obviously, it didn't come from nothing, because nothing can't produce something. But the emptiness, which is the pure potential of everything, including that particular thought. There's no such thing that is not possible. So when as mysterious and as hard to fathom as it is, everything that has arisen, every single thought has arisen out of this complete emptiness. Look for yourself. Every thought you've ever had, every line of thought you've ever followed, trace it back to its original. Where did it come from? Experience, impressions, the nature of thought patterns, the nature of energy, the nature of vibration, the nature of the universe. That's came from. It is the nature of existence. That's the only thing you can pinpoint, and it's transcendent. It will always be a mystery. I hope you get that. Enlightenment is not, oh, now I know. Enlightenment is, oh my God, I'll never know. It just is. And the me that I know is not a logical knowing. It is an intimate heart knowing. I know that I am. How do you know that you are? It doesn't require a thought for that, does it? So your being is there prior to all thoughts. So that's obviously where thought arises from. But thought cannot possibly capture that which is prior to thought. It's always representative. Does that answer it for you, buddy? Whoa, I got a lot. Oh, we're doing pretty good today. Yeah. I'm pretty good. Yeah, I think we're gonna make it. I think we're gonna make it to all of them, unless I get a whole flurry more questions in the next 20 minutes or so. Mike Wood. Hello, Mike. Hi, GP. Can you talk about feeling anxious about not knowing things? As I age, I find myself increasingly anxious about my lack of knowledge in general, but also in relation to specific subjects. Well, in a culture that we live in that values knowledge, the known, right? The sense of not knowing, which is our actual state, it seems to be a bit scary, and it really is just all about the animal nervous system that wants to know, because to know is better than not knowing. If I know something is going to happen, I can defend myself against. That's where it comes from. Is simply self-defense. It's a sense of protecting yourself. It's a fear of death. It's a fear of humiliation. That's what it has. The sense of it's an attempt to avoid the confrontation with the reality, which is I don't know anything. I am vulnerable. Everything that I identify with as myself is going to die, pass away, fade. So the mission of awakening is to anchor our lives and our hearts and our minds in that which is not going to go away, that is not changing, to find the constant, to use your time to find the timeless. And it's not hard. You could look at everything in life. Everything in life comes and goes. Everything in life, everything, as I was saying earlier, isn't even a thing. It's a flow of energy that from this level of perception appears to be an object, right? I mean, everything, as solid as it might look, right? This little thing right here is not solid. It is a constantly energy in constant flux in just such a way that it has some pattern integrity that it appears that there's an object there. There is no object there. So you can't put your trust in that. You can't put your trust in a thought because the thoughts will change. You can't put your thought in any knowing because it'll change. We say, okay, this knowing, this is the ultimate knowing, the true knowing. The more strongly you feel that way, the more fundamentalist and rigid you become, the more defensive you become, the more unwilling you are to listen to another point of view, the more aggressive you can be about it. That's all the result of knowing. Knowing something creates division, derision, conflict, war. There's nothing positive about knowing. The moment I know something, I've shut down creativity. I've shut down possibility. It's one thing to say, well, this is the direction I'm going to go. Boom, this appears to be good. This is a pretty good pattern to go with, knowing full well that it's empty. I mean, that was the whole vibe behind the Heart Sutra, to show something that I know is completely devastating to people, and most people who read it don't even get it, especially even the Buddhists, because the teaching of the Buddha was absolute and unchanging. And in the Heart Sutra, it says, no, it's not. It's as empty as everything else. It is temporary. It is transient. It comes and goes. There's nothing to be known. Come to terms with that. And in order to come to terms with that, you have to come to terms with the habit energy of the nervous system that wants to grasp, it wants to attach, it wants to hold on to something. Just like it wants to hold on to people, it wants to hold on to money, it wants to hold on to possessions, it wants to hold on to its beliefs, it wants to hold on to thoughts, it wants to hold on to knowledge. Vedanta means the end of knowledge, not the end of knowing, because knowing is even prior to knowledge, isn't it? The capacity to know. But that capacity to know is not something that's known. It is the one knowing. Hope that's not too non-dual. Does that help, Mike? Yeah, big question. Yeah. I mean, I found that I'm aging too. Well, we're all aging, but I'm just, unless I live to be 135, I'm closer to the end than I am to the beginning. Yeah, and I find that too. As the body becomes more fragile, it becomes more, as you notice the things getting different, there's a tendency to want to cling to things. And if you don't have the same kind of physical prowess, or beauty, harder to lose weight, all these things, we tend to want to hold on to our knowledge. And so you'll find older people getting more and more rigid. I mean, that's only because when they were younger, they didn't question stuff enough, really. And they became less and less curious, more and more wanting to hold on to things. So I think there's kind of some momentum behind that idea that I certainly want to put the lie to. I'm still just as curious and alive as I was 50 years ago. I'm still, and I mean, I just rekindled my interest in Joseph Campbell, and I've just got a DVD set because you can't get it in books. I got 5 books of his because I suddenly just saw this whole world opening up. There was such a direct correlation between what we're doing here in Satsang and the beautiful work that he did. So I'm still curious. You'll be hearing lots more Joseph Campbell quotes and stories and things like that as I absorb that. But it's just curious, yeah. And notice that there is a momentum behind that, because for most people that is exactly what happens. Traditionally in cultures, when somebody reaches that point of the elderhood, right, where they're no longer the householder, they drop all the responsibility. In our culture, it's really stupid the way we do it. Just keep working until you die, or get stuck in a home somewhere because you're not a productive member of society. And well, you'd go on a walkabout, or you'd become a mendicant. You leave home, leave everything behind because you've already done that. You've taken care of everything, and you go off to find God, to find enlightenment, right? So, come on, buddy, let's reinvent aging. I'm for it. I'm for it. So I hope that helps, Mike. Sean Dixon, revolutionist. Does one have to really and clearly see through the doer to have the shift? How do you have the shift? I assume the shift is from person to presence permanently. Does one really have to really and clearly see through the doer to have the shift? No, the shift is seeing through the doer, right? Right? You don't have to become perfect in order to get enlightened. Enlightenment will bring perfection. Enlightenment comes to the imperfect. It comes to us, to the everyday human being. You simply become curious about a world that you can instinctively feel is bigger than the one you're living in. And the one you're living in is feeling kind of contracted, isn't it? It's feeling kind of contained, right? So you want to go, there's got to be more. I feel like there's more. The culture may say, no, there's no more. That's it. You've got what you're supposed to have. But it's not true. You can feel it. Jesus made the most wonderful statement in what have been called the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount. He said, "Blessed are those that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they will be filled." This is what he's talking about. It's the hungering and thirsting after truth. That will fulfill it. That will awaken you, and you'll see through the doer. That will bring you from person to presence. And it will do it permanently. Folks, awakening is not another job you got to do. It's not this personal responsibility. It's not this burden that God has thrown on your shoulders. It is an event that is happening to you that you couldn't stop if you wanted to. Now sit back and enjoy the ride. The impulse to look, the impulse to meditate, the impulse to come to satsang is being inspired by the truth that is calling you to it. It's not you deciding, I want the truth. The truth has said, I want you, and is calling you to it. And that we feel that as an impulse to question, an impulse to come to satsang, an impulse to look places we didn't think to look before, an impulse to notice that things aren't all that satisfying, the impulse to notice that, whoa, there's got to be more to this. All of that is being inspired. You were the recipient of it. You are not the cause. So buckle your seatbelts. Take your hand off the wheel. You're not driving. The image that comes to mind is, they don't do it anymore because kids have to be in the car seats anymore. But I think they may even have the car seats. But when I was younger, they'd have the kid, the child could sit next to the driver, and they have a little fake steering wheel. Did he turn? He turned. Beep beep. Have his little horn and stuff. I think you can get them for the car seats. That's you, right? You're not really driving. Truth is driving the car, and so you don't need that steering wheel. You can do this if you like, but but it's having no effect whatsoever. You are being called. You are being prodded. You're being cajoled. You're being seduced. So drop the burden of it being like a personal responsibility and just jump into the joy and the promise of really knowing who you are and transcending all suffering and sorrow. That's what you want. And the desire to transcend suffering for yourself and others is a prayer that God cannot not answer. God is a sucker for that prayer. Just goes, you pulled the trump card. Ooh, God, I don't like that word. You pulled the ace out of your sleeve. Can't use that phrase anymore. Does that help, Sean? Does that help everybody? God, it's such a, you don't bring this to yourself. Mike Wood, chill out. You're eternally beautiful, just like me. We are eternally beautiful. How could you not be? You are God incarnate. You're the Word made flesh. There's just this thought running through your head that says you're not. But that thought cannot change the truth. Chris Gills, last question, GP. All right, I'm holding you to that. Our brain is where memory functions. So all what the brain ever picks up and stores down as memory is nothing but an image and a thought. What else could be stored? That's it. Images, thoughts. I mean, images. An image could be visual, it can be audible, it can be feeling, it could be anything. Right? Yeah, that's all it is. That's all it is. What we experience right in this moment. Sensations, emotions, and various kinds of images, sound, visual, auditory, smell, a touch, any of that. That's it. Whatever you experience right now can recur as a memory, right? That's all it is. Nothing but an image, right? Just a thought. Yes, just a thought. And thoughts are never the reality. They're always derivative. Spiral Dynamics says, yes, it helps. Thank you, GP. Nizran Golden says it's very true. Thank you. Good, good. Janet Ditriola says, hi, my sweet friend. Hello, Janet. Wonderful. Let's check the time here. I got a little bit more. Dave Maloney. Thanks, G. A lesson for me was learning how to complain. Yeah, growing up, I learned to never complain. Shut my ego down. I'm realizing now it was in hiding, allowing the judgment is my allowing. Yes. And the more you do it, the less you'll need to judge. That's the wonder. The more you allow all of these negative things that we don't want to, I'm spiritual, I can't be judging. The more we allow it, the more you don't need to do it. You find that you get through the level of judging till you find out what's underlying the whole thing. The whole thing that's underlying is just a feeling of being cut off from yourself, alienated from yourself, right? So you judge yourself. We judge ourselves to try to make ourselves better. So right? If I judge myself, I'm really critical of myself, I'm going to get rid of this behavior, I'm going to do the right thing. And it's bullshit. It never works, right? If punishment, self or otherwise, if punishment was effective, our prisons would be turning out model citizens, and they're not. They're only turning out better criminals. Punishment doesn't work. Whether we apply it to ourselves or to others. So yeah, don't be like that. Don't judge, right? So now, okay, I can't judge, which is of course a judgment, right? But if in fact you let that feeling be there, you can begin to discern that which is simply a discernment of quality, because some things are obviously better than others. Loving is better than hating, right? But that's something you see. If you're told you got to love and not hate, then you're not going to let that feeling of hate be there, which means it's going to fester underneath. But if you give yourself permission to that, the hate comes up and you go, it dissipates because it isn't that substantial. It's only perpetuated by the fact we don't let ourselves feel it. And then we find that what we're really hating is stuff that we're afraid of. We don't understand it. We don't know what it is. And that underneath that is a willingness and a desire for a love that's unconditional, that doesn't really hate anything. But you can't force this. That's why the Christ said that love is the fulfillment of the law. The Old Testament is about the law, right? It is about rules applied from the outside, externally enforced by the threat of punishment to create a moral behavior. But even Moses said he looked forward to the day when the law would be written on man's hearts. So even he, although he's the one who brought the law, he saw that was not all there was, that the fulfillment of it was going to be love, which is what Christ said. Love is the fulfilling of the law. When there is love, you don't need to control behavior. You don't need moral or ethical codes. When there's no love, we fall to the next level. The next level is just going to be ethics and moral codes and enforced behaviors. And of course, as it spirals downward, you just get to nothing but conflict and disaster and war, which is a lot of what we have. So allowing the judgment is my allowing. Yes. And when you allow the judgment, you'll find less and less and less of it. Because the only judgment was only there because you were not free to simply let yourself feel what you were feeling in the moment. Simple as that. Oh, it's so simple. Jaya Devon, exactly, G. I struggled with the concepts in the book. Good, good. So Yeah. So I hope it's clear now. It's not that, I disagree with the work of Byron Katie. Um, I just see a little bit differently, and I just be a little bit more precise. So, Suketa Patel, hello. Uh, you popped up on my YouTube. First time listener. Blessings of the essence. Oh, wonderful. Glad you're here. So glad you're here. Subscribe. Hopefully you'll subscribe. Like and share. Pretty close with my name, Jay. And thank you. It helped very much. It's my name, Jay. Jaya Devan. Like it. Dave and Eileen, thanks for your answer, GP. So when the snake is seen, we don't have to work hard to get rid of it. Well, it's already gone. It's seen as the rope. You saw that the snake was a projection of the mind and it was never actually there. You're done. You don't have to get, oh God, I got to get rid of the snake. What snake, right? You see through it, and you can't unsee it. So we don't have to work really hard to get rid of it. It's enough that the reality of the rope is known, which in life is a very useful thing to have her to be. Yes. Yes. When you see that everything is consciousness, okay, then it's not a chore, right? And that's really our universal prayer is to be brought to the point where we actually see. And of course, we can't do that in art. That's why it's called grace. We can't outline how that's going to work. We don't know what little things are going to be necessary, what little tweak, what little bump, what little, knock upside the head is going to be the one that says, oh my God, there's no snake. It's just a rope. But in that seeing, game's over. Sean, yay, G. Yeah, G. Thanks for a wonderful satsang. You're so welcome. Ava says, what a satsang today. Great, beautiful, full of light. Thank you so much. Well, thank you. Sandis says, I don't think there is a memory. Seems there's a capability to recreate from a reference point. Some minds are better at recreation than others. No reference point, no memory. That's actually, in terms of the neurology of it, which dovetails beautifully in the non-dual view of it. Yeah, there's not really a memory. It's a recreated story from an impression, some kind of a reference point. Stories always need a reference point to spin their yarns, right? That reference point can be an impression. It can be just, it can be a picture. We call it a memory, but the memory is a construct in this moment of a story about what in fact is it's a little fragment of something that doesn't even really have a context. I mean, it's mind-blowing because we really cling to our memories. And of course, the sense of a separate self clings to its memory because without the memory, there is no separate self. The self you think you are is a memory. Take away memory, and what are you? Take away your name, your gender, all your beliefs. You're still here. What are you? Amazing to ponder, right? What we call ourselves is in fact nothing but a memory. Which means it is a fabrication in this moment of a reference point that has no context. Got that? Powerful. The sense of identity, the false self, the separate self, the illusory self is an illusion because it is a story being created in this moment based on a reference point that doesn't have an actual context. And it is impossible to tell if any of that bears any resemblance to anything that actually happened. But I'll tell you what didn't happen, and that is that self never got created. It's not a self you have to get rid of. It is a thought that is perpetuating itself every moment, and we call that a memory. Thank you, Sandis. Janet McGowan, thanks, GP. From addiction to freedom via 12-step, Muji, and Ramana. Grace beyond belief. Thank you. I love you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Nothing wrong with the 12-step programs, or you can go beyond them. It's one of the reasons, another reason I refer people to Gabor Mate about addictions, because, you know, he doesn't have an issue with them, but there's a problem of identifying yourself consistently with that. You can become free, absolutely and totally free. In fact, that's the point. All right, I have exhausted the queue, and we're only 5 minutes over. How about that? Ah, dear friends, dear friends. Just started feeling really kind of quiet as I'm winding down for the end of satsang. I think if there's anything more that the spirit wants to say, yeah, you are so loved that you are being led, gently led to your awakening. Christ said, "Fear not, little flock. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." And blessed are the peacemakers, especially making peace with yourself and with the divine, for they shall be called the children of God. So, thank you all for being here. If you haven't registered, just go to gpwalsh.com and register so you're on the mailing list, so you find out about workshops I'm doing, events that I'm doing, new products I'm releasing, as well as the upcoming satsangs and those rare times when I can't make it, and it's going to be informed about that. So by all means, please go register and tell others about it. And thank you from Tatfu. Anne says thanks. Sandy says thanks. Namaste from H. Beck. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Thank you all. I love you. Namaste.